A very good morning, my dear students, and a warm welcome to the geography lecture of the 9th standard. My dear students, in the previous lecture, we were discussing on the lesson that is exogenetic movements, and in that we had studied about various types of weathering. Now, my dear students, we have seen that there is mechanical weathering, there is chemical weathering, and then at last we have got biological weathering. Now, in this we had already dealt with the mechanical weathering. Today we are going to continue with the chemical weathering and biological weathering. Both are very simple and easy. Okay, it will go up very quickly. Now, this was the homework that I had given to you all in the holidays, and I suppose everybody has done this experiment, because this experiment has got a very important role to play in understanding the entire part of the chemical weathering. So once again, I'll just tell you what you had to do over here. Observations you have seen for yourself, so I won't be discussing that. Okay, and many of them have submitted also that to me, the observations, which are very right and very good. Now, my dear students, we can see that here we have to take a glass of water. Okay, and then what we have to do with that is we have to put a few pieces of chalk in it, and on the next day it will look like this, something, a glass of water with chalks. And then on the next day we have to observe and answer these following questions. At the same time, I had told you, take a few iron nails in a wet cloth and keep the cloth for 2 days, and then we have to observe what has happened to the cloth as well as to the nails. Okay, so here we have got the result of the experiment. Okay, now without wasting time, let's go into the geographical explanation. Now, water plays an important role in chemical weathering. Rock is a mixture of many minerals. Water is a universal solvent. Many things get dissolved easily in water. The solubility of water increases because the matter has dissolved in water, and those materials which do not dissolve easily in water get dissolved in such solutions. In the areas that receive heavy rainfall, chemical weathering occurs in the following ways. Now, my dear students, let us understand that for chemical weathering, one of the most important requirements what is there is water, because water is something called as a universal solvent. That is, whatever you want or most of the things can get mixed with water. Okay, many things get dissolved in water easily. Take sugar, take salt. Okay, it gets easily dissolved in water. Okay, now what happens, and sometimes in the rocks, okay, rocks also are what they are made up of various minerals. Now some of these minerals get dissolved in water. So what happens due to these minerals getting dissolved in water, or the effect after these minerals getting dissolved in water, is called as chemical weathering. Okay, so we can see that weathering occurs in the 3 different ways. The first one is called as carbonation, next one is solution, and then we have got oxidation. Now what happens, my dear students, in the atmosphere there is carbon dioxide what is present, but when it starts raining, this rainwater gets mixed with the carbon dioxide what is present in the air. That is what is explained to you all in this paragraph. See, here we have got water, that is H2O. Okay, what is rainwater gets mixed along with carbon dioxide. This is present in the air, that is CO2, and then what we get is H2CO3. Okay, so that is what we get, that is known as the carbonic acid. So this is the first thing that is called as carbonation. Next, my dear students, see here we can see that carbon dioxide is present in the atmosphere. Okay, then when it starts raining, the water gets mixed with this carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere, and then what we get is the carbonic acid. Next one is solution. Some minerals in the rocks get dissolved in water. Limestone is formed due to the chemical precipitation between water and alkalis. At Vadgaon Darya in Ahmednagar district, limestone gets precipitated chemically, that is undergoes chemical weathering again. Similarly, because of solution, alkalis in the rock get dissolved and make them brittle. Okay, now what you mean by brittle is make them very soft, which can be broken very easily. Now there are some solutions what are created. See, for example, here we can see, okay, when we mix, first we have only water, then when we mix sugar along with lime juice, we get a new solution. So sometimes what happens, due to various minerals what are present in the rocks, we get a new solution. Now when this new solution comes, okay, they get reacted along with the rocks. They get reacted with the rocks, and then we get some kind of a formation what we have got at Vardao. Okay, you can see that in your textbook also. See, we can see this over here. We can see something like over here, okay, which is hanging. That is the reaction of solutions on limestone. So when there is a reaction of solutions or limestones, we can form these kind of structures. Okay, one of them is in Maharashtra only, in Ahmednagar district. The next process, my dear students, is oxidation. Now what do you mean by oxidation? This process occurs in the rocks which have iron present in them. Now you know that certain rocks have got iron which is present in them. The iron in the rocks comes in contact with water, and chemical reaction takes place between iron and oxygen. Now we know that whenever iron is exposed to water, automatically what happens? Iron starts getting rust. You have tried this in your experiment also in your holidays, which I had given it to you all. Okay, hence we see a reddish colored layer forms on the rock, and you might have observed on the cloth also, my dear students, that the color of the cloth has become reddish. Okay, and what is this reddish thing? This is nothing but only rust what is there. Okay, and this occurs in areas where there is very high rainfall, and also along with that iron is present in the rocks. Okay, now there are many more other processes in chemical weathering. Like for example, we can see various examples in our daily life. I have got a few of them over here. You can see this apple changing its color due to oxidation, bananas turning black due to oxidation. Okay, iron getting rust. Okay, then we have got salt moistening. That is when you keep salt, okay, in the bottle in the rainy season. Actually when you have it, it's in a powder format, but you see it becomes moist. And why does it become moist? It becomes moist because of the chemical reaction, because vapor what is present in the air. Okay, next, again we have got this experiment what I had told you of the iron nails. Okay, you have to wrap it, and then what happens? We get this kind of reddish layer, what we call it as. Okay, so this is the process of oxidation. Next and the last thing is biological weathering. Now what do you mean by biological weathering? Besides mechanical and chemical, biological factors also are very responsible for weathering of rocks. Have you ever visited a fort? Have you seen trees growing on minarets? You also must have seen pieces of rock getting separated because of the roots of the trees. As roots grow bigger, they create tension in the rock and they start breaking. So my dear students, this kind of an image you have seen at least somewhere in your lifetime. Okay, where a tree starts growing on a structure, and this happens when this is because of the biological weathering. Okay, that is, it is the atmosphere that is responsible for it. Okay, that is biological weathering. That is naturally it is occurring. That is the trees which are there, they are breaking the rocks. Okay, or sometime we can find ants, sometime we can find rats, sometime we can find earthworms. Okay, so all these are the various things that are playing a role in the biological weathering. Okay, we can see ants making anthills, rats and mice, rabbits and other worms, insects burrow the ground. So due to them what happens? There is a change in the ground, there is a change in the ground structure. Okay, there is a weakening of rocks. Sometimes there is mud which is displaced from one area to the other area. Beside that we also can see sometimes there is algae, moss and lichen. See, we can see over here there is moss, there is lichen and there is algae. So these are all the various things which are responsible for biological weathering. Due to them there is biological weathering what is occurring on the earth's surface. Okay, see, we can see again few more example, trees growing, then we can see these kind of structures. Okay, where there are algae, moss and lichen growing, sometime roots which are breaking up the rocks, as you can see it over here in these images. Okay, so all these are various structures what we can see. Now the last thing, my dear students, is about mass movement. Now when we see mass movement as a whole, we can divide it into two parts basically, that is rapid mass movement and slower mass movements. Okay, so mass movements are basically of two types, rapid and slow. Now if you see rapid are those which are having very fast, for example rockfall, landslides, land subsidence. Now what happens due to them is whenever there is a slope, okay, whenever there is slope and there is heavy rainfall, okay, when it rains in such areas, the rainwater penetrates the weathered material and the weight increases. So whenever there is rainfall, first the mud was dry, but now what happens, due to coming in contact with rainwater, the weight increases. automatically what happens, the soil which is down cannot handle the weight, and that leads to the landslides, that leads to rock falls. But sometimes what happens, my dear students, the weathered materials do not move downwards, that is they don't come down, but they sink in. Sink means what? It settles down there only, as you can see it over here. Okay, the weathered material has not come down. See here, the structure is fine, but what has happened, within this area itself it has gone down. Okay, it has sunk down. That is what is called as sinking in. And this entire process, my dear students, is called as slumping. Okay, this entire process is called as slumping, that is sinking in is called as slumping. Okay, my dear students, then we have got, see here, rock falls, we have got landslide, we have got land subsidence. Okay, we have got all these kinds of movements. Last one is the slow earth movements. Now what are slow earth movements? These occur areas which are dry and they are gentler slope, that is not a steep slope. I told you rapid occurs in steep slope, where the slope is very steep, whereas slow occurs where it is gentle. Okay, and the reason for that is, you can see over here, when the slope is gentle, the flow of water also is slower, and therefore the movements occurring also are quite slow. Okay, in this we can see solidification. See here, we can see, you can see these kind of structures, what is a wavy kind of a look. Okay, why? Because this is not very steep, it's a gentle slope. Okay, see here some more examples of solidification. Okay, so these are various examples. Last one we have got is erosion. Now what you mean by erosion? Like weathering, the mass movement, erosion is also an external process. Erosion occurs through various agents like wind, running water, glaciers, sea water, groundwater, etc. Okay, so these are various agents. Agents are nothing but mediums through which erosions can take place. Okay, we have got over here, see, glaciers, that is filled with snow. Okay, then we have got sea water which continuously comes and hits the rock, and due to that the rock breaks, there is erosion over there which is occurring. Okay, here we have got again some more examples of wind. Again, the river water, what is flowing, so mud is carried from one place to the other. Okay, so my dear students, in this entire lesson we were discussing about weathering and about erosion. Okay, so we have told a weathering about three kinds, that is mechanical, chemical and biological. At the same time, at the last we have studied about mass movements, that is rapid mass movements and slow mass movements. So my dear students, the most important thing what you have to remember over here in this entire lesson is what you mean by mechanical weathering, what you mean by chemical weathering, and what you mean by biological weathering, and how do they occur. And in mass movements we have got only two very simple ones, rapid and slow mass movement. Okay, rapid occurs where there is heavy rainfall and steep slope, and slow occurs where there is lesser amount of rainfall in drier climates, and also where the slope is very gentle. Okay, that's all for y'all in this entire lesson. This lesson is going to come for y'all for the coming week in the exams. Okay, so please go through the lesson very carefully, and all the best for your exams. Stay home, stay safe, take care of yourself and your families. God bless you.